today? What's our final topic?
All right, last one up is from Sarah B. John, I just saw that Denis Villeneuve has started shooting his Dune movie and that Hans Zimmer is composing the music for the movie.
Woo!
I didn't think I could get more excited for this movie, and yet here we are. What are your thoughts on the situation?
Well, I mean, I do have my own thoughts, but let's be honest here. The guy whose thoughts I really want on this is pictured right beside me, Mr. Robert Meyer
Dude,
Burnett. What? Okay, first of all, it's shooting. I have this phrase I've been using for a couple of years now, Robert. I call it the tangibilization, because a lot of times they talk about movies, and sometimes they do happen, sometimes they don't. Even though you know that they happen, they don't quite feel real yet. We've been talking about a Denis doing this Dune movie for years. For years, we've been talking about this movie, and to hear the words, "It's now shooting," it just brings about that tangibilization of it to me, to hear that Hans Zimmer is doing it. And the first thing I thought was, I got to hear what Robert's feeling right now. So, Robert, what are you thinking about all this?
Well, I am a big first of all, to address the question, I'm a huge Hans Zimmer fan. The first time I ever recognized or noticed his name was in a late '80s movie called Paper House that was directed by Bernard Rose, who directed the first Candyman, and that was the first time I heard a Hans Zimmer score. And during the '90s, like, he scored movies like Crimson Tide, which I loved. But I've really sort of loved how he's gone in, and I loved his Dark Knight scores that he did with James Newton Howard, and he's really become a favorite of mine. And a lot of people like Bear McCreary studied under him, and so he's become a force. And people have talked about, well, he works by committee sometimes, but like his score for Inception, I could listen to forever. He did the bow, that whole thing. But that's just one component of a movie that I think, as far as I'm concerned, because I love the source material so much, the talent that they've organized behind the camera and in front of the camera on this movie, to me, is so astonishing. It's whether it's a who's who of actors, whether it's Denis Villeneuve, who directed the Arrival and Blade Runner 2049, which I'm convinced is a modern masterpiece that gets better every time I see it. I can't imagine a better scenario to bring a new take on Frank Herbert's seminal science fiction novel from the mid-'60s to life. I mean, Dune is one of the classics of all science fiction canon, and to see it just done in such a grand fashion, it's almost like everybody who had a wish list of how could this movie be the best movie ever made, they've been granted that list. And I think for us, and for me as a lifelong Dune fanatic, I mean, I got it when I was in elementary school from the science fiction book club. I got Dune, Dune Messiah, and Children of Dune. I can't believe that this is happening. And I always say, we live in wondrous times. Well, this is one of the reasons why, kids. I mean, then again, if this movie isn't, if I don't go into it and walk out of it with a rainbow coming out of my ears, I don't want to set myself or set you viewers up for disappointment. But I do think what we're going to get is at least something special. I mean, between Sicario, Arrival, Blade Runner, Prisoners,
Prisoners.
I just think we're going to get something that we don't see very often in this space, so to speak. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. In the year 10,191 is when Dune takes place, actually.
The thing we got to keep our eye on here is, does the same fate befall this Dune that happened to Blade Runner 2049? That was a film whose marketing, first of all, they overestimated, I believe. The studio in the first place overestimated how much of a hunger there was for that movie. I think that's clear.
Which they shouldn't have, because it wasn't a hit.
Right. I mean, it did gain a lot of traction over the years as a cult classic and all that kind of stuff. But the other thing they did too, and I complained about this from day one, when you watch the marketing of Blade Runner 2049, they never told you what the movie was about. Right. They just never told anybody what the movie was about.
I don't think the marketing people knew what it was about.
No, I mean, they showed, look, here's Ryan Gosling. Ooh, look, there's Harrison Ford. Great. What's going on, though? What's this about? Just tell me what it's about. And I always used to say it's akin to this, going into Best Buy, and they're having a big white box on the shelf that said, on sale, $29.95. Get it now. I'm like, well, I pick up the box. It's just a white box. What's in it? Well, we can't tell you that. Then it wouldn't be a surprise. Yeah, but you're asking me to give you $30. Shouldn't I know what's in it? Nah, you don't want it spoiled for you. Just give us the $30 and take it home and open it up and you'd be surprised. And that's what they did with Blade Runner 2049. What's your movie about? Well, we don't want to tell you and spoil it, but you're asking me to pay you $15 for a movie ticket. So shouldn't you tell me a little bit about it? Nah. And that's what they did. And I really hope that, because there are some similarities here, right, Rob? Like, you're talking about a franchise, a property that has classic status and all this kind of stuff, and going back to it, and we'll have a core group of followers ready to go with it right away. But you got
my spinner, my Ryan Gosling car.
There it is.
Sweet.
So much I love it.
I mean, I just hope they realize that they can't market this film the way they marketed Blade Runner 2049, because I like that movie, and it lost a lot of money.
No, it did, and I didn't understand. Like, look, I think it's fantastic. We got a movie that costs $180 million, a Blade Runner sequel. It's incredible, and the film is an astonishing vision. And the more I watch it, the more I love it. Like, honest to God, it's got one of the greatest sound mixes ever done for a movie, and I do think it's a masterpiece. But Dune is it is one of the great science fiction novels of all time. It has been adapted twice before, once for television, and then famously the David Lynch film in 1984 that wasn't great. They had to cut down a lot of it. But I think in this day and age where we've seen great fantasy literary adaptations now, like Lord of the Rings, like Game of Thrones, and we've seen, everyone loves a great science fiction epic. This is a little heady. It does require it is very intelligent fare. And it really speaks, by the way, Dune has a lot to do with our world now today. And I really think that they're gonna really tie that in and make this movie as relevant as they can for modern audiences. And I'm hoping that it's great. I really am. But this is a heady, smart, intelligent science fiction property that has a lot to say about our current state of affairs here on old planet Earth. So I'm really hoping, and if they realize the visual effects, which they couldn't realize back in 1984, you've got giant sandworms, you've got battles between the Harkonnen and the Atreides, you've got the Padishah Emperor pulling the strings behind, you've got the Princess Irulan, you've got Duke Leto and Baron Harkonnen. I mean, there's so much cool stuff in this that I'm excited, dude. I'm excited.
All right, guys. Well, that will do it for all of our main topics today. What do you guys think? Are you guys excited for Dune that's finally shooting? Hans Zimmer, who I will always be grateful to for the amazing Man of Steel score.
Oh, yeah.
Bum, bum. I still, at least once a week, I play that music when I'm in the shower. I really do. Just gets the blood pumping. It gets me ready for the day, man.
Not at the gym?
Nope. I just play it in the shower. Gets me going for my day, dude.
I sing the song from Arthur. When you're caught between the moon and New York City.
Between the moon and New York City.
That's my shower song.
Yeah.